Hey up, it's that old Yorkshire geek here, back again with some more geeky news, and we're on a bit of a Star Trek day today, a lot of Star Trek news, which is fine by me, but there's some other stuff sprinkled in there. Sorry, you've seen me, you might have heard my stomach gurgling then, I do apologise. Oh dear. Right, so we'll crack on. Right, I make myself small. As usual, you know the drill. And we'll get my big window up. Right, first up, big news. This happened late last night, I believe this happened. Paul Wesley joins the cast of Strange New Worlds. An original series favourite is set to return for Season 2. And this is from the horse's mouth from StarTrek.com. So it should be true. And obviously there's a photo of him. As usual, all the links are in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, as it says up there. Like and subscribe, share the videos, and all that stuff, you know. Use the notification bell and just drop a comment, blah, 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 blah. Right, anyway, so here we go to Paul Wesley. There he is, in the captain's chair. Presume it's the Enterprise. If you notice, his rank insignia on his sleeves is wrong. I have no idea what that is. Too thick and a thin band. I looked it up. Doesn't exist. A captain's rank insignia is two solid bands and a broken band in the middle. So I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll read them. Paramount Plus announced today that Paul Wesley has joined the Season 2 cast of Star Trek Strange New Worlds as James T. Kirk, the iconic character originated by William Shatner in Star Trek the original series. Paul is an accomplished actor, an astonishing presence, and a welcome addition to the show. Executive producer Alex Kurtzman and showrunners, executive producers Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonso Myers, said in a joint statement. Like all of us, he is a lifelong Star Trek fan, and we are excited by his interpretation of this iconic role. Wesley starred in 8 seasons of the CW's The Vampire Diaries. I saw the first episode of the first season, and that was it. That was enough for me. One of the network's most watched shows. He also was featured in Paramount Plus' series Tell Me a Story, as well as other projects, including upcoming horror film History of Evil. An accomplished director and producer as well, Wesley has directed episodes of The Vampire Diaries, Roswell, New Mexico, and Legacies. Star Trek Strange New Worlds follows Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, and his crew in the years before Kirk rises to the Enterprise's captain's chair. Other cast members include Rebecca Romaine as Number 1 and Ethan Peck as Spock. Season 2 has recently started production, with Season 1 set to premiere on May the 5th, exclusively on Paramount Plus in the United States, Latin America, Australia, and the Nordics. No idea, for the UK, don't know. I doubt if it'll be on, it definitely won't be on Netflix. I doubt it'll be on Amazon. It'll probably, if Paramount Plus streaming service isn't running in the UK, it'll probably go to Pluto TV like Discovery did, with its handful of viewers. Anyway, James Kirk is a role that is beloved by audiences and is an exciting addition to the Season 2 cast of Strange New Worlds. Excited to see Kirk's return to the Star Trek universe? Let us know at Star Trek on social media. And this is a quote from Paul Wesley himself, presumably on Twitter. I am deeply humbled and still a little startled to have been given the honour of playing the inimitable James T. Kirk. Ever since I was a kid, I've been awed by the imaginative world Gene Roddenberry created. Recently, I boarded a flight to LA to discover that the man in the pic... I presume there were a photo of... let's click it and see what happens there. We'll go into a new tab. I presume... Where's it going? Oh, it don't work. Oh, very good. Very good. Very good. Never mind. I think I saw it, actually. I think I might have... As I was scrolling through Twitter, I think it might have been William Shatner. So there's a photo of him on a plane with William Shatner. Hey, does does it say here? No, it doesn't. Star Trek Strange New Worlds will stream exclusively on Paramount Plus in the US, Latin America, Australia, and the Nordics. That's Sweden, Norway, Finland, I presume, maybe Denmark. This series will air on Bell Media's CTV Sci-Fi channel and stream on Crave in Canada, with additional international availability to be announced at a later date. So it's going on to Pluto TV. The series is distributed by Paramount Global Content Distribution. And that's it. So we've got us James T. Kirk. Is he still going to be bisexual? Because that's what they threatened, didn't they? They'll probably make him pansexual, just so he'll just go with anybody of any race or of any species or any mechanical subset. Hello, Princess. Princess has come to see us. So there we go. So anyway, so we'll move on. And so there he is. So there's your new James T. Kirk. Like I say, I'm not sure about these uniforms. These look a little bit better than the previous ones that there were. They look a bit more comfortable. But they're still going for the metal badges, aren't they? They want metal badges in the original series. And as I said, these rank insignia, that's wrong. That's totally wrong. I'll see if I've got a picture somewhere. I'll see if I can find the picture of the rank insignia that I found. There we go. I'll drag that over. Right, has that popped on? Hang on, let me see. Has it come on? I'll move it over there. So it should be in the middle of your screen. Now, it shows the rank insignia. Down at the bottom, obviously, we've got... I can't read, it's too small. Hang on, let me get... there we go. So we've got ensign at the bottom right, which has no stripes, a lieutenant junior grade with a single broken band, lieutenant senior grade with a band with a spiral thingamabob on. And anyway, as I say, if you go through it, there's no three solid bands. The captain is 2 bands with a broken one. Commodore's a solid band. I presume he's not a Commodore, is he? There we go. And there's definitely not an admiral. So there you go. You explain it to me. Have they just decided to change it? Just for the sake of it. Which they could say, well, we can do that if we want to, because, we own the rights. That's basically what they do, don't they? They own the rights, so they can do what they want. That's what they think, anyway. I think, we've paid for these rights. Well, they're not personally, but the company they work for paid for these rights, so they own the canon, they own the property, they can do what they like, they can change what they want, and, to hell with canon, to hell with the fans. I'm getting cross, so we'll move on. We'll move on before I start ranting. Might get me a few more views, but, sod it. Right. We've got some more Star Trek stuff in a bit, but a bit more news from Stargate this time. Another one of my faves. This is from Gate World. Amazon just cleared the first hurdle to closing its MGM deal. One major approval has arrived, with another one to go, and a new Stargate project potentially riding on the merger between Amazon and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Amazon and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer have overcome the first of 2 major hurdles standing in the way of the merger announced last May. Amazon is attempting to acquire the storied Hollywood studio for $8.45 billion. People have been moaning about it, haven't they? Saying, this is Amazon getting even more power. But they weren't moaning when Disney gobbled up Marvel and Lucasfilm and Fox, were they? No. Anyway, I shall continue. Deadline reports today that antitrust regulators in the European Union have granted unconditional approval for the deal to move forward. Based on its market investigation, the Commission found that the transaction, as notified, would not significantly reduce competition in the markets for the sorts of business activities that MGM and Amazon conduct, the European Commission said in a press release. That includes the production and supply of film and television content and licensing and distribution of films for theatrical release. The Commission also acknowledged that MGM's content cannot be considered as must-have, and that a wide variety of alternative content exists. Amazon also continues to face strong competition from other players in the streaming video-on-demand market, something that its ownership of MGM's library and IP would not change. Critics of the deal have argued that Amazon's ownership of one of the industry's oldest and most revered studios will put it at an unfair advantage over competitors like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max and Disney+, which is nonsense, isn't it? It's nonsense, is that? The EU Commission has given itself a March 15th deadline to decide. I say nonsense because, MGM's just one studio. Yeah, it's as it said, it's a revered studio, but Disney's gobbled up Fox, haven't they? That Fox were a revered studio. The HBO Max, that's got the Warner library. That's another, revered studio of it still is in a lot of ways. And Hulu's part of Disney, and Netflix, just do deals with whoever they like, don't they? What you moaning for? Just let them get on with it. Or you're just going to let MGM go bust, they'll go bankrupt, they'll close down, and all their assets will just be bought up by other studios. Anyway, at least with Amazon, they're all staying together. Amazon has stated that its interest in MGM is not just to bolster its SVOD library with the studio's archive of more than 4,000 films and 17,000 TV shows. As the retail giant looks to gain a larger market share in the streaming market, it plans to utilise MGM's intellectual property, brands like Stargate, James Bond, Rocky, Robocop, Tomb Raider, Silence of the Lambs, Fargo, Vikings, The Handmaid's Tale and more, to create new content with which to attract subscribers. Excuse me. The real financial value behind this deal is the treasure trove of IP in the deep catalogue that we plan to reimagine and develop. Sorry, I was just checking, make sure you could still see the writing. The text. Start again. The real financial value behind this deal is the treasure trove of IP in the deep catalogue that we plan to reimagine and develop together with MGM's talented team, Mike Hopkins, Senior VP of Prime Video and Amazon Studios, said last spring. It's very exciting and provides so many opportunities for high-quality storytelling. And there's a picture from Stargate Atlantis, from Season 5. Of course, you can tell because it's Wolsey in charge. The great Robert Picardo. That makes it likely that Amazon will not only add Stargate's existing series and movies to its Prime Video streaming library, but also create new content sooner or later. MGM has been moving toward a sale of the independent studio since emerging from bankruptcy at the end of 2010, at which time its chief investors took over control of the company. The FTC's turn. It's not all smooth sailing from here, though. It remains uncertain whether and how the European Union's decision will affect the second and final big hurdle standing in the way of the Amazon-MGM deal. The US Federal Trade Commission is reportedly on the cusp of deciding whether it will sue to block the acquisition or stand aside. Votes from the FTC's commissioners are deadlocked 2-2, according to a report from The Information. It's a bit silly, isn't it, having a commission where you've got like an even number of people on the on the voting board. You'd think they'd have an odd number, wouldn't you, so they could have an outcome. Anyway, the tiebreaker belongs to the next likely commissioner, Alvaro Bedoya, who was nominated to the position last fall. His nomination is currently held up in the Senate, meaning it's not likely Bedoya will be seated in time to weigh in on the Amazon-MGM deal before a decision must be made. In the meantime, a deadlock may work in Amazon and MGM's favour, not to mention the uphill battle that an antitrust case would face in the courts. As we suggested in the video recap and analysis below, it's there if you want to follow the link, we won't watch it because it might go on. A decision by the FTC not to try and block the deal would of course be the fastest route to a closure, because Amazon is looking to leverage MGM's brands to produce new content. Once the deal is finalised, some form of new Stargate production may not be far behind. Open the gate. Fast-tracking a new Stargate series would help fill a gap in Amazon's Prime Video content offerings. Science fiction drama The Expanse recently concluded its final season, and other high-profile shows now in the works, notably The Lord of the Rings of Power, and the second season of The Wheel of Time, are squarely in the genre of high fantasy. Amazon is also developing a series adaptation of the post-apocalyptic video game franchise Fallout, a decidedly different tone and style of science fiction. This comes in an era when its streaming competitors are years into building sprawling genre universes. Disney Plus has an astonishing 10 current and announced television series set in the Star Wars universe, both live action and animated. It is also busy building out the Marvel Cinematic Universe with numerous television series. Ow. Banging me hand. Over on Paramount Plus, the Star Trek universe continues to expand with 5 series in active production and numerous others on the drawing board. Yeah, but that'll be crap. Despite its 350 plus hours and 3 movies, Stargate, meanwhile, has been out of production since Stargate Universe went off the air in 2011. That is, if you ignore the poorly received series of web shorts, Stargate Origins 2018. Which wasn't too bad. It was a bit cheap and nasty. But once it was originally done in 10-minute clips. I don't know how many. Well, there might have been 10 episodes of 10 minutes, chunks. But they edited them all together and made it into a film, which I think you can still buy. I think you can get it on like Google or YouTube. I think you can buy it on there. Which, yeah, I've got it. And it's okay. If you like Stargate, it's okay. It's, it's not terrible, but it's a bit cheap and nasty. Not nasty, but you know what I mean. Anyway, and with a still active fan base and one of the original television creators standing by with a finished pilot script, Stargate is a franchise that is ripe for return. Yeah, there's a big fan base out there. I mean, a few years ago, about 2 or 3, or might be 3 or 4, this pandemic, I can't remember, my timing's gone all doolally. Maybe about 4 years ago. I went to a Stargate convention in Leicester, and that were very busy. There were a lot of fans there. So there you go, and that was just for Stargate stuff. So there you go. The FTC is likely to reach its own decision within the next few days or weeks. There we go, and that's from Darren, who created Gate World. Very good. Gate World is like the semi-official Stargate, website. It's the biggest anyway. So there we go. So hopefully it'll go through and we'll get some new Stargate, but I hope they don't mess it up like they've done with Star Trek and sort of Star Wars. They've kind of messed it up a little bit, haven't they? In the films anyway. Book of Boba Fett wasn't great, was it? But we'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully it'll be a continuation of what's gone before and not a reboot. If it's a reboot, I'll be very disappointed because they've got 10 seasons of SG-1, 5 seasons of Atlantis, and 2 seasons of Stargate Universe, as well as 2 TV movies, SG-1 movies, to work off. If they just start again from scratch, it'll be very, very disappointing. But as I said, we can only wait and see. Right, let's move on. Back to Star Trek. Hey, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. It's 40 years old this year. Released in 1982. Still one of the sci-fi movie greats, and it is. And it is. Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. What are we doing here? Oh, some text. PG, 130 minutes, directed by Nicholas Meyer, and they gave it 4.5 stars. Where's this from? I don't know. Don't grieve, Admiral. It is logical. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And says, I never took the Kobayashi Maru test until now. What do you think of my solution? That's when he's dying in the in engineering. It was the scene that shocked even the most sober of Star Trek fans around the world back in 1982, leaving them sobbing into their popcorn as 2 old friends bade each other goodbye. On-screen friends. They weren't exactly friends off screen, were they? Sure, Star Wars has encased that lovable scoundrel Han Solo in carbonite, but this was Leonard Leonard Nimoy's Spock, the logical mind and half alien who a generation had grown up with watching during Trek's original 3-season mission between 1966 and 69. Remember, this was before The Next Generation came along. All we had for Star Trek were the movies at this time, in 1982. And its endless repeats on Saturday morning TV in the immediate years before Wrath of Khan had been released. Oh, and Star Trek the Motion Picture, don't forget. Even if we'd endured earlier cinematic horrors like Watership Down, it's amazing is Watership Down. I went to see that twice at the cinema. This was trauma of a different kind, one that some viewers struggled to recover from. At least until 1984, Search for Spock came along and essentially undid all this fabulous film's great work. Well, sort of. Sort of, but not really. As a lifelong fan of the original Trek and enthusiast of its many offshoots, I still consider... Who wrote this? Who's saying I? They do stuff in the first person. Who's written this? Can't see the right. They do it in like text that James Crute. There we go. From today. They do it in, in text that you can't flaming read. Or is it just my eyes that are shot? Anyway, where were we? I've read that, haven't I? As a lifelong fan of the original Trek and enthusiast of many of its offshoots, I still consider this Nicholas Meyer-directed adventure the finest hours of Gene Roddenberry's creation. J.J. Abrams obviously did too, as he tried to recreate it in 2013's Star Trek Into Darkness. That's what I think of Star Trek Into Darkness. God, that film is shite. God, I'm getting angry again. God, I hate that film. In fact, it is one of the most thrilling and greatest science fiction movies of that fertile decade for the genre that was the 1980s, matched and bested only by a handful of fellow classics like Back to the Future, Aliens, Blade Runner, The Fly, The Terminator, and The Empire Strikes Back. Along with that last title, it's one of two features I can quote vast sections of dialogue word for word, although not as lengthily as I could when I was 9. Especially the pulse-pounding and heartbreaking last 20 minutes, from the moment William Shatner's Admiral Kirk screams his nemesis's name to Leonard McCoy's sign-off once the strains of a bagpiped Amazing Grace have drifted away. My late stepdad, he loved that bit, the bagpipes playing Amazing Grace, and then it went into the orchestra. He loved that bit, did my stepdad, Morris. Miss you, Morris. And there's Khan getting one of the SETI Alpha, whatever they're on 5. This is SETI Alpha 5. Worms. Gonna stick in Chekhov's ear and Captain Tyrrell. It's only now that I've discovered that Ricardo Montalban's peerless genetic superior tyrant Khan Noonien Singh was actually quoting Moby Dick when he defiantly growled, "From hell's heart I stab at thee, for hate's sake I spit my last breath at thee," which just gives the already Shakespearean-like story of revenge extra gravitas. Well, I knew that back then. Even when I was a kid, I was, 15 when that came out, and somehow I knew it from Moby Dick. Don't ask me how I knew, because I've never read Moby Dick, but I knew it was. I think I'd seen the film with Gregory Peck. I think he says it, doesn't he? Gregory Peck, when he's lashed to the whale, into and stuff, he's stabbing it and all that. But anyway, it's Montalban's, I've spelt that wrong, physical threat and very real sense of menace that gives Wrath of Khan its propulsive narrative and addictive quality that keeps you coming back time and again. If 1979's ponderous The Motion Picture hardly bothered to hide its 2001 A Space Odyssey inspiration amongst the various rainbow-hued space sequences, then Khan very much followed in the footsteps of Star Wars' Empire, placing the emphasis on action and character moments rather than world building. I don't know, it did a good job at building the essentially it was a new world. because all the uniforms and all sorts of stuff were different. Although it were a similar Enterprise, it was slightly different. They changed the lighting and stuff, didn't they? Anyway, and there's Kirstie Alley as Savick, who were originally, it might have been even in the book, I've read the book, but it's a long time, she was supposed to be half Romulan, which was why she struggled to keep her emotions in check. So there you go. It features one of cinema's first ever sequences fully created using computer graphics. The explanation of the Genesis device boasts nightmarish, mind-altering ear-eels and began the seemingly ubiquitous series' penchant for crippling or destroying the Enterprise. As Kiwis, because this is from the Stuff, New Zealand. As Kiwis, we love that Khan and cohorts have been marooned on SETI Alpha 5. This is SETI Alpha 5! On the ship called the Botany Bay. While I found it hilarious that Square Pegs, a short-lived, hugely underrated Sarah Jessica Parker starring high school sitcom, Johnny / Merritt Butrick, had been enlisted to play Kirk's son and was instantly smitten by a new character, Lieutenant Savick, Spock's Vulcaneered protege, played by an actor I'd never heard of called Kirstie Alley. Actress. I'll be honest, in some ways The Wrath of Khan is such a chaotic film. It's inconsistent with its source material, the 1967 original series episode, Space Seed, claiming that Chekhov had previously met Khan, reuses existing footage from the first film as a way of cutting costs, and even features Chippendale dancers as some of Khan's henchmen. But it's hard not to be enthralled and engrossed from start to finish, that finale running you through a gamut of emotions few other movies can rival, helped immensely by a stirring James Braveheart Titanic Horner score. I think it was on his second big, major movie score, I think. His first one being Battle Beyond the Stars a couple of years earlier. I think he'd done a couple of, I don't know if he'd done any more, but I know his scores got reused a lot in Roger Corman's films, didn't they? Particularly the Battle Beyond the Stars music. Anyway, 40 years on, the late James Horner has passed away, hasn't he? Just remembered. 40 years on, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan is still magnificent entertainment. And there we go, that's it. So, yes, it is. It's an excellent film. That hint, we'll ignore that. But yeah, Merritt Butrick, who's passed away as well, hasn't he? Did that? I think he died of AIDS, didn't he? I think, or complications, brought on by AIDS. She's very sad. But yeah, it's a great film. And the thing about Chekhov, I like to think he was on the Enterprise, but he was that in a lower decks capacity. So he could have run into Khan at some point, but we just didn't see it on screen, so it don't really matter. That's how I look at it. And Kirstie Alley was good as Savick, and I think she wanted to come back for Star Trek 3, but I don't think they even contacted her. I think they just recast her for some reason. I think I read that somewhere. And she was a bit disappointed because she wanted to do it. So, yeah, they got Robin Curtis in as Savick for Star Trek 3 and as briefly in Star Trek 4. And she did a decent job, but she was a bit more Vulcan than the Kirstie Alley Savick. As I said, I think in the original script, and maybe in the novel, I can't remember, she was supposed to be half Romulan, so that's why she struggles with her emotions. And then back to that again, in Star Trek 6, didn't they? The Undiscovered Country with Valeris, who was a full Vulcan. I think she was a full Vulcan, but... or was she supposed to be half Romulan, or was she a Romulan that were rescued, after a raid near the Romulan border or something like that, and raised as a Vulcan? I can't remember, something like that, something along them lines. But anyway, that's why she was willing to, abandon the ethics of the Starfleet and the Federation in Star Trek 6. But I digress. We're on about Star Trek 2. Yep, it's a great film. I still watch it quite regularly. I mean, I watch all the Star Trek films reasonably regularly, but I think I watch Star Trek 2 probably more than any of the others. I watch Star Trek the Motion Picture quite a lot, but I tend to put that on as background noise because it's a lot of music in it. And so I love that as well. Right, so we're still on Star Trek. Right, wait. Sorry about that. Wait, was Noah Hawley's Star Trek movie going to star Kate Blanchett? Imagine Kate Blanchett captaining a Starfleet ship. I can imagine it, and she'd be amazing. She would. I mean, look at her. She's beautiful. She's one of these women that's got more attractive as she's got older. And then, I'm not saying that women don't, but I'm saying Kate Blanchett, particularly striking. Digging a hole for myself. The TV side of the Star Trek franchise is back and in working order thanks to shows like Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks and Prodigy. Who wrote this? Adam Holmes, you're an idiot. But we haven't been treated to a movie since 2016's Star Trek Beyond, which I quite enjoyed. It had its problems, but it was okay. That finally looks to be changing, and the Enterprises look awful. The ships and that Yorktown Starbase it were terrible. But anyway, I liked the story. That finally looks to be changing due to a Star Trek movie bringing back the crew of the of the Kelvin Timeline's Enterprise, being scheduled for late 2023. But for a while, it looks like a separate movie being developed by Noah Hawley could have moved forward. Oh yeah, before that, sorry, I got myself mixed up then, which isn't difficult. To that end, apparently, the Fargo and Legion showrunner was looking to have his Star Trek movie star Kate Blanchett. This information comes from Star Wars Insider and Fangoria contributor Brandon, Wayne Durdy. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's a very peculiar surname. Wayne Durdy, I don't know, sorry. I apologise, Brandon. Who said on Twitter that he attended an event where Noah Hawley was speaking and signing books. During the event, he apparently let slip that he was planning to bring Kate Blanchett onto his Star Trek movie, although he didn't divulge any details about what her role would have been. Though Kate Blanchett has spent a fair amount of time in the fantasy realm through movies like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and Thor Ragnarok, aside from the upcoming Borderlands film adaptation, don't forget she was in The Hobbit as well. Hobbit trilogy as Galadriel. Upcoming Borderlands film adaptation, she hasn't done any deep diving into the sci-fi genre. Being a lead actor in a Star Trek movie could have rectified that, and Noah Hawley has said that his feature would have featured new characters rather than bring back Chris Pine's James Kirk and the rest of the gang we followed along with on the big screen since 2009 Star Trek. So right off the bat, it's easy enough to envision Blanchett playing the captain of a Starfleet vessel, or really any kind of authoritative figure. Alas, Noah Hawley's Star Trek movie didn't get the green light from Paramount Pictures, so unless the writer-director is willing to disclose more details about what he had planned, we'll likely never know how Kate Blanchett fit into the picture. At least Hawley's Star Trek movie isn't the only Star Trek Beyond follow-up project collecting dust in this franchise. It joins the movie Quentin Tarantino was working on with the Revenant writer Mark L. Smith that was inspired by the original series gangster-themed episode A Piece of the Action, as well as the movie S.J. Clarkson was once on board to direct that would have seen Chris Pine's Kirk meeting his father, Chris Hemsworth's George Kirk, who died shortly after his son was born in the Kelvin timeline. That Quentin Tarantino one had been awful. It was. It would. Tarantino's not... I know he's a Star Trek fan, but he's not. He wouldn't have made a good Star Trek director, I don't think. Anyway. Now the plan is for the unofficially titled Star Trek 4 to be directed by One Division's Matt Shackman, who's working off a script that's being written by Josh Friedman and Cameron Squires. Paramount Pictures announced that Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, John Cho and Simon Pegg were in talks for Star Trek 4. though this reportedly came as a surprise to the actors, as they hadn't even known this movie has made significant progress forward. Star Trek 4 is slated for December 22nd, 2023. As for Noah Hawley and Kate Blanchett, the former is still working on Fargo and also has the Alien series coming up, while the latter is lending her voice to Guillermo del Toro's stop-motion Pinocchio movie and will play Lilith in the aforementioned Borderlands. Keep your eyes peeled on Cinema Blend for more updates on Star Trek 4's progress and news on other upcoming movies. Yeah, very good. Yeah, she should have been good in Star Trek. I can just see her in a, the Starfleet uniform. And, I've got, Janeway vibes. She's got Janeway. She's got that authoritative aura about her, hasn't she? I can see her barking out orders. Yep, I can. Right, sticking with Star Trek again. It's not all Star Trek, but a lot of it is. This is the last one, though. Star Trek The Next Generation. Let's make sure you can see this text. Yeah, you can. Star Trek The Next Generation Tasha Yar blooper that made it on screen. Actor Denise Crosby waved a secret goodbye to fans ahead of Tasha Yar's demise in Star Trek The Next Generation. And there she is. Well, that's Armus, the entity that killed her in The Skin of Evil, which I'm sure it will tell us about in a minute. There have been a lot of Star Trek documentaries, countless behind-the-scenes DVD extras, and everyone ever involved in the franchise has written a memoir. I'm going to have a little drinky again. A dry mouth. I'm feeling a lot better today, by the way. I said yesterday I was feeling a bit iffy. I felt as though I was coming down with something. Well, obviously I've slept it off and I feel fine today. It's the number one most covered topic not connected to World War II apart from maybe the Civil War, says Brian Volk Weiss, director of the documentary The Centre Seat celebrating 55 years of Star Trek, which we had a look at the other day, didn't we? Which launches this week in the UK on IMDb TV. Oh yeah, yes, I've got to remember to watch that. You can see it on Amazon. If you've got an Amazon Prime subscription, you can watch it on there through their various apps. But even after all this time, there are still surprising new facts to discover, as Volk Weiss himself found out during the making of the series. I'm a lifelong Trekkie. The name of my company, the Nacelle Company, is 100% a Star Trek reference. The nacelles are what hold the warp coils, the big long things with the bussard collectors on front. They hold the warp coils that create the warp field. They are not engines. Although, even in Star Trek, they refer to them as engines. But they're not. They're the nacelles. So I say this with confidence. I don't think my Star Trek love could be questioned, he says. I learned stuff that nobody knew, and I learned stuff that I thought it was really strange I didn't know. One such example is a story told to Volk Weiss by Denise Crosby, the actor who played the Enterprise's Chief Security Officer Tasha Yar in Star Trek The Next Generation. Tasha Yar was exactly the sort of tough action heroine character. Oh, I should not have drunk that. That was supposed to separate The Next Generation from its 60s forebear, but the first season saw her character woefully underwritten. Disappointed with the lack of development her character had received, Crosby had decided to leave the show, and Roddenberry saw it as a chance to do something he had never done in the original series, kill off a member of the main cast. This happened in the episode Skin of Evil, and most Next Generation fans will remember seeing Tasha Yar knocked out by an evil tar pit before dying on Dr. Crusher's operating table with a silly little weird bruise on her face that looks like, I don't know, looks terrible. But anyway, she passed away. On the series, not in real life. But what you may have missed is what happened in the last episode Dr. Crosby actually filmed, which aired the week before. I've seen that episode 6 or 7 times, and I never noticed that. Volk Weiss tells us he recounts the story as Crosby told it to him. She shot her penultimate episode, and before that she'd shot her death. So there's a shot in her second to last episode where Picard and Deanna are walking out of a giant cargo bay, and all the way in the back, 500 to 1,000 feet away, I don't think it's that far, you see Denise jump up and wave. She kind of like does that. We're going to see it in a minute. Episode 22 of Star Trek The Next Generation is Symbiosis, which is as pure a by-the-numbers Picard agonises over whether to break the Prime Directive episode as you can get. After Picard has resolved the moral dilemma in question, delivered an angry speech to the bad aliens and watched them beam away, Picard storms out of the cargo bay, and as you can see Tasha Yar for no reason jumping up and waving at the camera. She said she was shocked it wasn't cut out, but that was her final moment, Folk Vice recalls. You can see the moment for yourself right here. Right, so we'll have a watch, yeah. There we go. Coming off a minute. Are you ready? I'll point to where she is. You ready? She's where is she? She's there. Look, you ready? Hey! So the quick list goes like that. I want to say she was jumping up in the air, but there you go. That's that. Right, even after more than 30 years, there are still new stories to be told about the making of The Next Generation and the rest of the franchise. As Volk Weiss points out, there are a lot of things in Star Trek that have not been covered. Big things. We were the first to do a documentary on Voyager, the first to do a documentary on Enterprise, the animated series, and even the motion picture. It's been done, but I don't think it's been done in a long-form, systematic way. The Centre Seat celebrated 55 years of Star Trek streams on IMDb TV from the 18th of March. And that's in the UK. There you go. Very good. So a little cheeky goodbye. She did a little wave, didn't she? Goodbye. But she came back, didn't she? She came back as Seela, her daughter, because obviously Tasha Yar, well, she came back as Tasha Yar in yesterday's Enterprise, didn't she? As an alternate universe Tasha Yar. And then she came back as Seela, her daughter. And then she was back in the finale, wasn't she? All good things as Tasha Yar, because Picard was travelling backwards and forwards through time. So we saw her again in that. Right, next up, Dune. Epic sci-fi director has big plans. And there's Paul Atreides and his mother, played by Rebecca Ferguson. For some reason I remember that. Don't know. He's Timothy Chalamet. I'm remembering names tonight. Don't know why. Right, after the success of Dune, we can certainly expect a sequel in the cinema. But even after that, director Denis Villeneuve is planning another film. In 2021, Denis Villeneuve finally appeared Dune in cinemas. Is this a translation anyway? He was able to convince critics. The science fiction film did well at the box office, grossing over $400 million worldwide. At first glance, this doesn't seem like much, but if you think the title will be released on the streaming service at the same time as the theatrical release, HBO Max released and emerging in the midst of an epidemic, Dune caused quite a stir. Basically, yeah, I think this is a translation, isn't it? It's not come out really well. I don't know though. Harley Allen wrote it. Go back to school, mate. So it was released at the cinema and on HBO Max simultaneously, and still managed to make $400 million at the cinema, and I presume it drew in a few new subscribers to HBO Max. Don't know how many, but you know. The risk paid off, and some time ago it was Warner Brothers' Dune 2. What? In an interview with Clash's director Denis Villeneuve has now spoken. Oh, for God's sake. We'll struggle on with this, this writing. Christ. Get me mad up. Has now spoken about the new challenges the sequel brings with him and whether there might be another Dune movie after the sequel hits cinemas. The second half of the first book is currently being filmed. In theory, the film from the adaptation Dune Christ, it's Dune Messiah. Yes, it's a translation, is it? Come on, the director revealed the following. I wonder if he's... the name like that, though, it don't... I don't know. It's definitely a translation, isn't it? Because it's Dune Messiah, isn't it, that comes next. And then Children of Dune. Now I can imagine a third movie and do Dune Messiah. That will complete Paul Atreides' story, but I think would make sense. Which I think would make sense. But both of these movies are monsters, and I can only do one movie at a time. If I survive from Dune Part 2, I might do Messiah. For some reason it didn't translate that, but did that. Dune has wowed critics and fans alike, and it's certainly among the best science fiction films of recent years. You can find out which clips you should watch in our video. Denis Villeneuve wants to fully focus on Dune 2. This sounds like good news for fans of the sci-fi series, but the third movie has yet to be officially confirmed. After all, Dune 2 should also convince at the box office, and even if Villeneuve already proved it with Part 1, he should pull off the feat again. Well, yeah, he probably will. However, the director appears to be in good spirits and states that he is fully focused on the sequel. Only then can he think about the future. As he says in the interview, it's not like I'm directing another story or another moment. It's really part 2 of a bigger story, and I'm 100% focused on part 2. I'm not someone who can multitask. I like being able to fully focus on one project at a time. Once. Pardon me. In fact, Dune 2 will not tell a separate story, but it will relate directly to the first part, where we will definitely learn more about the character of Zendaya's Chani. Among other things, filming for Dune 2 will begin in late summer 2022. The sci-fi sequel is said to be released in autumn 2023 at the cinemas. And there you go, so that's it. So there's Harley Allen. Yeah, she's, it doesn't say where it's from, does it? But yes, she's obviously not written it in English, and it's been translated, hasn't it? But anyway, but you get the gist. He's got big plans. He wants to do Dune 2. He's 100% focused on that. And then if that does well, maybe he'll do Dune Messiah. Dune Messiah is a much smaller book than Dune 2. So maybe could squeeze that into one film. Anyway, so there you go. Anyway, next up, Buffy. Buffy star throws shade at Angel actor David Boreanaz in New... I've said that right. I've never heard his name spoken aloud, so I don't know if I've pronounced it properly. In new book, Nicholas Brendon, who played Xander on Buffy, gives a bitingly honest take on the spin-off series Angel, which I really enjoyed, and its lead star David Boreanaz. Buffy the Vampire Slayer alum Nicholas Brendon gives his honest take on the spin-off series Angel. Brendon played Xander Harris on Buffy, appearing in all but one episode of the seminal teen drama. And in the years since the series went off the air, Brendon's character has maintained a divisive reaction with the fan base. Some viewers argue that Xander is the perfect human character in a show filled with the strange and supernatural, a fact that is deployed to hilarious and touching effect in the Xander-centric episode The Zeppo. It's been a while since I've seen Buffy, so there's only a few episodes I can remember. But I do remember Xander was like the heart of the Scooby Gang, wasn't he? Anyway, for others though, Xander is remembered for moments where he hasn't been a great friend to the show's titular Slayer. That dynamic was most evident in the first 3 seasons of Buffy. During those high school years, Sarah Michelle Gellar's Buffy was involved in a romantic relationship with the broody vampire Angel, David Boreanaz. Xander was never quite convinced that Angel, even with a soul, was good enough, and didn't shy away from letting Buffy know about it. In new remarks from Brendon, it appears that the same was true off-camera as well. Interviewed for the new book, Into Every Generation a Slayer is Born, How Buffy Staked Our Hearts, Brendon spoke to author Evan Ross Katz. Speaking of cats, there's a princess over there, can you see her? Evan Ross Katz about working with Charisma Carpenter. Ooh, lovely. I saw her at a convention a few years ago. My son got her autograph. She's gorgeous. Anyway, Carpenter played Cordelia Chase on Buffy for the first 3 seasons before exiting to join the spin-off. Brendon was very complimentary of Carpenter's performance, saying that he would miss his frequent scene partner and on-screen love interest once she left for Angel. But when mentioning the spin-off itself, Brendon was less enthused. Angel, in my opinion, is worse than those Twilight effers. Brendan opines. The full quote is transcribed below. It was weird that Angel got a spin-off, because how does the most boring character in TV history get a spin-off? Why don't we break down Angel? No, there's nothing to break down. It's just a brooding little guy. Angel, in my opinion, is worse than those Twilight effers. I'm not sure if I'm talking about David or Angel at this point now. Ooh. Meow. Katz reacts to the comments by noting that perhaps Boreanaz and Brendan aren't the closest of friends, possibly alluding to the alleged friction between the two actors that have long been discussed by fans. But whether that's the case, or whether Brendan is simply playing up his dislike to playfully channel what Xander might say, Brendan's reaction gets to a lot of different points. How Angel as a character came across on Buffy filtered through the gaze of a teenage girl in love versus how he became his own character in the spin-off. It also touches on the fact that Carpenter never returns to Buffy once she departs, one of the many ways that the spin-off changes the dynamic of Buffy's beloved high school seasons. It is perhaps the biggest what-if for fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What if the spin-off never happened? What would change in terms of the story? What would change for Cordelia, who evolves, then derails, then dies in one of Angel's most derided character trajectories? In many other ways, of course, the spin-off would eventually become completely different and superior to the show it originated from. Yeah, it did in a lot of ways. But at least for Brendan, he doesn't see what the fuss is all about. And there we go. And there we go. So it sounds a bit bitter, doesn't it? Sounds a bit bitter. Or maybe he's just, being salty for the sake of it, just to get a reaction. We'll see. We'll see if David Boreanaz retorts on Twitter or whatever. I doubt it. Yeah, but I liked Buffy and I liked Angel. Wish Angel could have carried on a bit longer, but that last episode was good. Poor Fred, Miss Fred. But she was kind of hot as Illyria, wasn't she? Well, she was hot as Fred, but even hotter as Illyria. But I digress, being a dirty old man again. Right, so that's it. That's your news. No science news, because basically I couldn't find anything interesting. And if it doesn't interest me, I'm not going to read it out. So there. So we'll get rid of that. I'll make myself big. If I can find the thing. There we go. Whee! There we go. Can you see Princess? Can you see her there? She's there. Where is she? She's there. Where are you? She's there. Cheeky monkey. She's curled up having a snooze. Did her drops yesterday, so she's a flea drop, so she's not my friend at the moment. She's just what's the word? I've remembered names, and now I can't remember words. Never mind. She put it up with me. Right, so we'll leave it there. So hopefully there'll be some more news tomorrow. We'll see. What day is it tomorrow? It's Thursday, isn't it? Oh, it's all right then. It's not Picard Day. Well, it is in America, but not over here. Not over here. We've got to wait till Friday. Anyway, so wherever you are in the world, be nice to each other, help each other out. And until tomorrow, I'll say this.